everyone, welcome to Mindful Mindsets, and today we are going to talk about the fundamental theorem of psychology, the most paramount, foundational, and constitutional aspect about our psyches. And this will help you in all of your endeavors, and the best thing about it is I made it up. But I do think you will find it true. In fact, I think you will find it to be obviously true. There is a lot of science behind it. I'm just going to say it in a more succinct and extreme way. But first I want to start with a story. And this story is of a woman named Sarah. And Sarah went to an Ivy League school. She was living the dream. She met a man there. They fell in love. He was going to med school. She got a successful consulting job right out of college. She was making a lot of money. They decided they wanted to wait to get married until after he finished med school. After he finished med school, before residency, they got married in a beautiful ceremony. They were happily in love. And he went off to residency. She continued in her job. She got promoted. She was a senior level executive. And they decided when he finished residency, they were going to start to try to have kids. And he finished residency. They were super excited. He opened his own practice. He was a pediatrician, and they thought they were living the dream. They tried to have kids for a year, but to no avail. Eventually, they went and saw a doctor, and it turned out that he couldn't have children. They decided to stay together, even though both of them had always wanted kids. Sarah was really disappointed, but she really loved her husband, and she wanted to stay together. But he felt so guilty that he couldn't give her children that eventually the marriage started to become strained, and several years later, they got divorced. So at age 36, Sarah found herself single. She didn't date for a while, but after a couple of years, her friends decided, hey, you should try online dating. And she said, all right. She was really hesitant. And eventually she put herself out there. And she found a guy who seemed great. He seemed super nice, super smart, super successful, and most importantly, he was interested in her. Now, she had a little bit of a different attitude towards online dating than maybe you and I do. If you've been on a lot of online dates, you might get to the point like me where you go, oh yeah, I got a date in 5 minutes. Like, I don't need a shower, and yeah, you know. So she didn't have that, by the way, maybe that's why I'm not so successful in online dating, huh? But she didn't have that attitude, and so if you think about your first online date, you were probably more excited about it, and you probably spent a lot more time preparing for it. So she bought a brand new bright red dress, she put on bright red lipstick, she got earrings on, she had makeup, she got her hair and nails done, as if this was the first date with the second man of her dreams. They met at a fancy bar, they were having a drink, and she was so nervous she couldn't say anything. She wasn't really responding to him. He was just talking about work, but she was so happy to be there. He was nice, he was personable, he was attractive, and he seemed interested. So she was content just listening to him, and he started checking his phone, and after about 20 minutes he said, you know what, it was nice meeting you, but I don't really feel it. Left enough money to cover his drink and walked out. And Sarah sat there stunned. She was devastated. She didn't know what she did wrong. So the only thing she could think to do was to call her best friend. So she called her best friend, explained what happened, and her best friend said on the phone, of course he left. You had nothing interesting to say. You put on too much makeup. You look like a whore. You're fat, you're ugly. Of course he left. Why would anyone want to date you? You're too old, you're a divorcee, you're never going to find anyone to date. Now, everything about that story is true. In fact, that story has happened millions of times, except she didn't call her best friend. She sat and said all those things to herself. And I'm sure you can identify with this story. And what I posit that the fundamental theorem of psychology is that we all talk to ourselves worse than we talk to other people. There's not a person on earth whose self-talk is nicer and more compassionate than their talk to other people. Now, when I first formulated this theorem, I had situations like Sarah's in mind, And I do think that is the most powerful situation where it comes up. We are so critical of ourselves. We chastise ourselves so much when something negative happens, and we would never do that to someone else. To someone else, we would be kind, we would be compassionate, we would try to be there for them, but we tend not to do that with ourselves. But what I noticed is that we actually do this in even more scenarios than just that. Take being excited, for example. I play on a lot of volleyball teams. In one of my more competitive leagues, I play middle blocker, if you know anything about volleyball, and when the other middle blocker on my team blocks somebody, I go, "Oh yeah, let's go, Chris, way to go, great block, woo!" Right? I get really excited, and I show him that I'm excited for him. But what happens when I make a really good block? I don't do anything. I maybe go like this. Maybe it's relief. I think to myself, oh, I finally got one. But I never say to myself, yeah, way to go, great block, let's go. Now, part of that is I don't want to seem arrogant, so I don't do that outwardly, but I don't even do that in my own head. I never get excited for myself. How many times have you done this with achievements? When someone else does something great, when they achieve a goal of theirs, when they do something really exciting, you tell them, wow, way to go, that's incredible. I can't believe you did that. That's so awesome. But how often do you really say that to yourself when you achieve one of your goals? Probably not as often, probably not as strong. And that's why we need to share these things so that we get people to give us those emotions that we don't really allow ourselves. And lastly, I want to talk about our self-talk in regards to following our dreams. So imagine for a second that you met an acquaintance at a party and she said, you know, I got enough money saved up. I could probably live for 2 years if I wanted to. And I was in this job and it was an okay job, but I wasn't super excited about it. And I realized that this is my passion. I'm starting this business. I believe in this product. I believe in this service, and I am going for it. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to work hard, and I'm really going for it. I'm following my dreams. What would you say to that person? Well, I can tell you what you'd say to that person. You would have so much admiration for that person. You would say, wow, that's amazing. Follow your dreams. Go for it. You're going to succeed. That is so courageous. I'm so happy that you're doing that. That is an incredible attitude. You might even say, I wish I had that attitude, right? But what do we say when we're thinking of our own dreams? We often say, well, I don't know if I can do it. Well, is it realistic? I can't get there. I might not be good enough, etc., etc. And so what I posit in my fundamental theorem of psychology, that we never talk to ourselves better than we talk to other people, is that there are two things that we can do about it. We can't change our nature. We're probably never going to actually have better self-talk than outward talk, but there are two things we can do about it. One, we can talk to ourselves more how we would talk to somebody else. Remind ourselves of this truth and say to ourselves the same thing that we would say to somebody else. In other videos, I've talked about the best friend brain, saying to yourself what you would say to your best friend if they were in the same situation you're in. So if you're in a bad situation, you would be compassionate and kind. If you're thinking about your dreams, you would say to yourselves, go for it, you can do it. Give yourself encouragement. If you're in an exciting situation, you'd be excited for your best friend. Be excited for yourself. So talk to yourself the same way that you would talk to somebody else. The second thing we can do about it is talk to other people the way we wish we talked to ourselves. We're never going to talk to ourselves better than we talk to other people. So if we talk to other people in negative and unhelpful ways, we will be even worse to ourselves. So one way we can cultivate better self-talk is by expressing what we want to express to ourselves to other people. So when somebody does something exciting, show your excitement. Be excited for them. Live through them by proxy. When someone's going for their dreams or their goals, be encouraging. Tell them they can do it. Tell them how courageous they're being. When someone achieves something great, tell them how excited and proud you are of them and how remarkable what they did is. And when someone else is in a tough and terrible situation, when someone else is hurt, like Sarah, tell them anything to be compassionate. Be nice to them. Be kind to them. Be with them. And that's what you can do for yourself. So, with this knowledge, I hope that you will try to talk to yourself in kinder and more helpful ways, and not just when you're in negative situations. So talk to yourself the same way that you would like to talk to other people. It's an if-then relationship. Fuck. Well, now I'm gonna have to learn how to edit because this video was really good until that last point. So, with this knowledge, we can use this to talk to... So, I hope you talk to yourself the same way that you would talk to somebody else. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment or subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.